Hello, everyone, and welcome to another crossover edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast and the Strictly Stripes podcast. I'm Dan Labbe, and we've got the whole crew with us here today. We've got Mary Kay Cabot, Ashley Bastock, of course, who cover the Browns with me. You can find all that work at cleveland.com/Browns. And then we have Andrew Gillis and Mohammad, Ahmad, who cover the Bengals. Cleveland.com/Bengals is where you can find all of that. And as I mentioned, Strictly Stripes is our Bengals podcast, just like Orange and Brown Talk every single day. And just like Orange and Brown Talk, you can find it on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We are doing our quarterback draft, third annual quarterback draft. Normally, we've actually done this before the NFL draft, and we've sort of had to project rookies in. Now we know where all the rookies are. Not that it really matters, but again, just sort of the way we do this, it's sort of in a vacuum. You're just picking a quarterback to win for you this year. So contract doesn't matter, age doesn't matter. It's how you think that quarterback will perform this year on a team essentially ready to win. Our draft order, Ashley's going to go number one. We're all a little jealous of that pick because that's the easy one. It gets a little more complicated after that. Mohammad will go second, Mary Kay third, Andrew fourth, and I will go fifth. We'll try and knock out 3 rounds and pick 15 quarterbacks. And of course, the intrigue here, because we've never done this with Bengals writers on board, and we actually haven't done this since the Browns have had a legitimate starting quarterback who's going to be ready to go week one. I'm curious to see where all of these guys land. So
don't jinx it, Dan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's get started. Ashley, you are up. Number one. I already warned you. Do not screw this pick up or you will be off the beat. So
you did.
On the clock,
Ooh.
Ashley Bastock.
Yeah, so it's interesting having gotten the chance to know Mary Kay, who is of course a Hall of Fame voter. Mary Kay talks about when you're voting for the Hall of Fame, there are some guys who are what they call stand up, sit down guys. So all you have to do is say the name, and that's the case. And I think the first pick here is a stand up, sit down guy in this fantasy draft. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. What else is there to say?
Okay, I put the pressure on Ashley. Does anybody want to stand up and be like, no, Ashley, you're wrong. You really messed this up. It's Russell Wilson. Anybody? I mean,
if this was 2 months ago, I would have tried to put in one more effort for Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow himself said Patrick Mahomes is the best in the game right now. So I wave the white flag on that.
All right, so this is like the NBA draft. We all knew Victor Wembanyama was going to go number one. I don't know, I probably butchered that name. Now the draft starts. The draft starts at number 2, and Mohammad, you have the pick.
All right, so time to stir up the pot. Time to actually get some controversy going now, which I love creating controversy. It's my calling card. That's what we do on the Strictly Stripes podcast, so make sure y'all tune into that. But man, I'm going to have to go with Joe Burrow. I'm going to pick him at number 2. I understand a lot of people are probably thinking, why would you not pick Joshua Allen? Look, I get it. Josh Allen is a linebacker in a quarterback's body, or vice versa, a quarterback in a tight end linebacker's body. He's a gazelle. But here's the thing. He had an arm injury last year. But even without that arm injury, which I do think affected a lot of the turnovers he had and how the Bills kind of finish up their season, I just think if you take that away, yes, Burrow's not going to run you over, but he'll run past you. He might not be 6'5", but he can still get first downs with the shiestiest of moves, That's why they call him Joe Shiesty. This is actually an interesting stat from PFF that I feel like maybe gives him the edge over Josh Allen. So apparently he has a career 77.1% adjusted completion rate, and his turnover-worthy play has pretty much gone down every year he's been in the league from his rookie year to each of the last 2 years. I mean, he's smarter with the ball. Like I said, I think he's not as turnover-prone as Josh Allen. He's the most accurate passer in NFL history, and it only took him, 3 years? I guess 2.5 because his rookie season never happened because of the ACL tear. So, yeah, I probably stirred up the pot there, but I'm going to go with Joe Burrow.
You know what? I'm going to do this. Mary Kay, you have the third pick. Is Allen your pick at number 3?
Oh, yes, absolutely,
Okay.
100%. Josh Allen is my pick at number 3, and I would have strongly considered him at number 2. I mean, part of that is, I studied him so extensively coming out in the draft. I would have picked him over Baker Mayfield. I've talked to people in his career, his life. I've talked to Brian Daboll about him. After he coached him, I've talked to Ken Dorsey about him. I think the world of him, and he's such a dual threat quarterback. I do like that about him. So I could have made a case for him at number 2, but I'm definitely taking him at number 3.
Okay, so Andrew, you teased it. You have somebody set up at number 4. Who are you taking here?
Yeah, this is the guy who I think is kind of being disrespected. And I mentioned Mahomes is in tier 1, but I think in tier 2, I think a lot of people just kind of forget about this guy. It's Justin Herbert. Frankly, you could make a really good case. I think that in the next year or so, we are talking about Mahomes, Herbert, 1 and 2. Like, I really think Herbert could kind of take that next step. I'm really excited to see what can happen with Quentin Johnston now in LA. I'm really excited to see what can happen with Kellen Moore calling those plays in Los Angeles. But in terms of arm talent, he's one of the better throwers in the league. To me, you just kind of look at some of his numbers and my God, like the throws that he can make, down the field are one thing. They're a team that airs the ball out in LA. He almost threw 700 passes last year. Like, they're a team that trusts Justin Herbert to do a lot. And when you have that kind of arm talent, it's easy to see why. So, yeah, I think that, we kind of forget about Justin Herbert in the conversation with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. But, in a year, I think we could be talking about Justin Herbert not only kind of being in that conversation, but I think we can talk about him maybe being right behind Mahomes at 1 and 2.
Guys, the quarterback position is really good because there's like 5 players I could take here, and I don't think it would be super controversial. I'm going to go and take our first NFC quarterback, and this is a guy that I'll be honest, I have been cynical of him in the past. When I watched Jalen Hurts at Alabama and I watched Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma, I didn't think he had the accuracy to be an NFL quarterback. I really didn't. I didn't think he'd be able to throw at this level. I just thought he was too inconsistent with his accuracy. He's transformed himself into a really accurate quarterback. His ability to run and the way Nick Sirianni and that Eagles offense, the way they use him in the run game is really special. And again, this is a guy, I think he's an outlier as far as like guys that maybe weren't super accurate throughout their college career turning into accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. Josh Allen is another one who's obviously been able to do that. I'm really high on Jalen Hurts after this last year. He really impressed me. I was cynical about what he would become. I'm not alone in that. The guy got drafted in the second round. It's not like this was a guy that went in the top 10 of a draft. It was a little bit of a flyer by the Eagles, and it worked out. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts in this spot. Okay, now listen, before we make this pick, Mohammad has mentioned Trevor Lawrence's name twice already, completely unprompted. So, Ashley, if you want Trevor Lawrence, I think you got to take him here. If somebody else wants Trevor Lawrence, you're going to have to trade ahead of Mohammad, I think, because I don't know. I feel like Mohammad, who has our next pick at number 7, might have tipped his hand a little bit. But Ashley, you are up here at number 6.
That's true. I have to think about if I want to go in that route. But I think here's the thing. I'm thinking about the criteria of this draft, which is go out and win a Super Bowl for this upcoming year. I'm not talking about having a guy to make you a contender for the next 10 years, potentially. I'm talking about this next year. And for me, I think I have to go with my original gut, which is, and some people might disagree with me and think this guy's on a downward trajectory, but I'm not ready to buy into that yet. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers here. We're just a year removed from 2 back-to-back MVP seasons. I think the offense he's going to have with the Jets is better than the one that he is coming from in Green Bay. So I think that leading off the second round here and getting Aaron Rodgers, I do not hate this at all. So I've left the door open for Mohammad and Trevor Lawrence.
I do not like this pick. I'm sorry, Ashley.
We
can disagree on this.
Listen, there is a case. Yeah, there's a case to be made that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to New York and he's going to be the MVP again. I just don't think Aaron was that good last year. And I don't know if it was because Devontae Adams is gone. I don't know. I'm just worried. I'm worried about Aaron Rodgers. I'm just worried about this whole Aaron Rodgers experience and the silence retreat. And like now he's in New York. And I don't
Maybe
know.
the darkness retreat is going to help him, though, coupled with some
Maybe.
nice, fancy new receivers to throw to, and Garrett Wilson. Like I said, I mean, I don't blame people if they're a little skeptical about this pick here, but I'm just banking on the change of scenery. And I know we've talked about this on our podcasts. Like, the change of scenery might be exactly what he needs. And coupled with all the experience it typically takes to be able to succeed in the postseason, he may not have been that good last year. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, is showing the potential of what people thought he could be when they drafted him. But for me, if I'm talking about this very next year, I still would like that guy kind of heading my offense, I think.
So, Mohammad, you are up now at number 7.
All right, I am up now at number 7. Well, I know I was talking a lot about Trevor Lawrence. Plot twist. That was just a ploy. I'm actually going to go with Lamar Jackson on this one. Now, I will say I actually did consider Trevor Lawrence very heavily. Absolutely. But here's the thing, though. Like, I probably would have actually had him at number 6. Like, if I was at 6 and, like, Aaron Rodgers wasn't already picked, I would have actually put Trevor Lawrence there. So I actually think hear me out on this. Not that Lamar Jackson's not good. I know he's won MVP and he just got paid. I do think once the Urban Meyer dust came off of Trevor Lawrence, like that generational talent just came out. And that's why he pulled them out of that, what was it, like a 3-7, 3-8 start last year? 3-7 start, to get to the divisional round and almost beating Mahomes on an ankle and a half. Like, I thought that was impressive. But I do think after that, you got to give Lamar some credit there because, I mean, again, the guy's won an MVP. I know obviously he got hurt at the end of last year, and maybe that's still a concern moving forward if he can just stay healthy and not get hurt again. I do get that. And I'm interested to see how he does with Todd Monken. I know you guys know about him better than I do because you covered him in Cleveland a few years ago. But I'm interested to see how he does with Todd Monken. Could be a good fit. I still think John Harbaugh knows what he's doing with him. But I actually really do think, like, who knows if – and again, same thing with OBJ. You know him better than me. Like, if OBJ, if the hype is real, if, they got Zay Flowers from Boston College in the first round, like if that guy can make plays with Rashad Bateman, J.K. Dobbins – has a breakout year, I could see the Ravens, if they don't win the division, they could definitely, make the playoffs, get a wild card spot, So I think, Lamar Jackson, he's still up there. I know we're talking about having tiers on this podcast. I do believe Lamar Jackson is still in that upper to mid-tier, if that's the right term. But yeah, the accuracy's there. I like the way he moves. I still think he's got the juice, and I would put him at number 7.
All right, so we move along. Mary Kay, you are now up at number 8.
Okay. Ding, 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 ding. I'm taking Deshaun Watson here. Going Deshaun Watson here. Okay, there's a couple of other guys that we could put here, of course. We've been talking a lot about Trevor Lawrence. There still is, Dak Prescott's still out there, and there are others. But, I think that Deshaun Watson, deserves the respect to go in the top 10. I think that I don't think he's forgotten how to play quarterback. I think he has a supporting cast this year, like we've been talking about. I think Kevin Stefanski will do a good job calling the game for him. I think he'll look a lot different when he's taking all the first team reps instead of splitting them. I think he'll look a lot different with so many of his off the field issues behind him, most of them. And I just think that, he looks poised and ready to go and be the quarterback that he was in the past.
So you've got your guy then here at 9. Who is it?
Got my guy, Trevor Lawrence. I feel good about him at 9. I think, in terms of a 2023 year, you're talking an ascending player. While we were kind of talking, I pulled up some of his numbers from 2022. For the first 8 games of the year, 62% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He was only throwing for, I don't have them, like 180 yards a game, something like that. Final 9 games of the year. So for 252 yards a game, threw for 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 69% completion percentage. Like, to me, that's a quarterback that found it out. That's a quarterback that figured it out. You look at his arm talent, you look at his pocket awareness. That's a guy who, he was kind of built to play quarterback for a very long time. He was great at Clemson. And to me, for the first year and a half of his career, it just looked like a guy who was seeing what can I get away with and what can't I get away with in this league. And once he figured out what he can't get away with and what he can, I think, you kind of saw the results. I'm really high on Trevor Lawrence moving forward. I think, I think he's going to have a really, really strong 2023 season.
How about that? Back-to-back Clemson quarterbacks there. So now at number 10, oh, man. I have the guy at the top of my board that I like, but I don't know. He doesn't do a lot for me. I guess I'll take him anyway. I'm gonna take Dak Prescott. I'm okay with Dak Prescott. I think I was higher on him a few years ago. I mean, at some point, buddy, you're the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback. You got to go win a playoff game. But he puts up numbers. You can build a passing attack around him. He's always had a lot of weapons there in Dallas that helps him out. This is actually lower than Dak Prescott has gone, I think, in these previous drafts. But I'm going to round out this round by taking Dak Prescott. Does anybody have anything to... Can I get a little feedback on this pick, at least from somebody, about old Dak?
I just knew you were going to say it. Like, as you were like,
You think it's right, you think it's right, Andrew?
Out of you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, this was the 8, 9, 10 that I kind of had mapped out. I would have taken Trevor Lawrence over Deshaun, but Dak would have been 10. I think we got the top 10 right. I'll say that.